They were given sake, as the Roman soldier offered vinegar to the dying Christ.
At the beginning, we see several people being brutally tortured. A man pours boiling water over another's body, causing his skin to peel off. Others are branded alive, while some are drowned for hours. Among those forced to witness this cruelty is a priest named Cristobal Ferreira. Through his influence, many of these people had converted to Christianity, and they are now being punished for it. It is the year 1663, a time when Japan does not allow the spread of any foreign religion, and any attempt to change one's faith is met with death. Years later, we are introduced to two other priests, former students of Ferreira. An Italian priest shows them a letter sent by Ferreira from Japan. Upon reading it, they are shocked to discover that Ferreira has renounced Christianity and converted to Buddhism. They refuse to believe it, as Ferreira was a man who would have willingly given his life for Jesus. To them, it seems impossible that he could have lost his faith.
They decide to travel to Japan to find him, but the Italian priest refuses to grant permission, warning them that the country is extremely dangerous for Christians. He tells them that if they go, they will suffer the same fate as Ferreira. Despite this, the young priests insist, and eventually he gives in. The following day, they seek out a Chinese man to help them cross illegally into Japan. They are accompanied by a Japanese man named Kichijiro, who lost his family after they were burned alive for converting to Christianity. After many days of travel, they finally arrive in Japan. Kichijiro enters the water and signals them to follow him in silence. Shortly after, several Japanese men carrying torches appear and warn them that they are already in Japan, but that it is unsafe and they must leave before being discovered. The priests and Kichijiro remain silent and follow them.
An elderly villager tells them that more Christians are being killed than ever before and that they must remain hidden. The villagers believe that Jesus has heard their prayers and that through these priests he has sent them help. The next day, the villagers take Sebastian and Francisco to a hut with a hidden room. They warn them to open the door only after hearing 2 knocks and to never leave under any circumstances, no matter what happens outside. The priests remain hidden there for many days. Gradually, Francisco begins to lose patience, frustrated by the people's constant fear and the uncertainty surrounding Ferreira's fate. At one point, he angrily remarks that these people are consumed by fear and that they do not even know whether Ferreira is still alive, since no one dares to mention his name. Sebastian explains that these people have no one else and that if they do not support them, they will lose their faith in Jesus.
One afternoon, overwhelmed by frustration, Francisco steps outside and both priests lie in the sun. Suddenly, they realize they have been seen, forcing them to rush back into hiding and remain there for the rest of the day out of fear. That night, they hear voices outside calling for them to come out, but no one gives the agreed signal. Even so, Sebastian decides to investigate, despite Francisco's attempts to stop him. When he steps outside, he realizes that these people truly need help. He cleans their blistered feet, prays for their protection, and proceeds cautiously. Later, it is revealed that this encounter was made possible by Kichijiro, who is also a Christian. The priests are surprised to learn that he has kept his faith for 8 years and that his family was burned alive for refusing to trample on the image of Jesus, unlike him, who did so to save his own life. Upon hearing his story, they feel deep sorrow for Kichijiro.
The following day, the priests wish to visit other villages to strengthen the Christian communities. But the village leader, Mokichi, stops them and warns that their presence puts everyone in danger. Even so, Sebastian chooses to move on, while Francisco stays behind to support the community. In another village, Sebastian encounters Kichijiro once again and is warmly welcomed. There, he realizes that even in such dire times, faith has not been extinguished. An elderly man tells him that Ferreira was last seen in Nagasaki. Sebastian then understands that the community needs small symbols of hope to remain steadfast, and he gives them crosses made from shells and rosary beads. The joy caused by these gifts is overwhelming. When Sebastian tries to give one of the crosses to Kichijiro, he runs away, convinced that he is the worst of sinners and that Jesus will never forgive him.
Sebastian realizes that he is precisely the one who needs help the most, so he follows him and asks him to confess his sins. Kichijiro breaks down in tears, confessing the deep pain he has carried for years. He is not merely a traitor, but a compulsive sinner who always returns to the same place seeking forgiveness. If one pays close attention, it becomes clear that he is always running away and always coming back. That night, everyone gathers once again, and Mokichi declares that they are willing to give their lives to protect the priests. However, Sebastian understands that if he remains there, the villagers will be killed one by one. He decides to leave for Kichijiro's village. Some villagers try to stop him, warning that he will endanger even more lives. The argument grows intense until one man finally volunteers to accompany Sebastian. Kichijiro, though hesitant at first, agrees as well. Secretly, at dawn, they prepare to send the priests to a safer place.
Mokichi and the others are ready to sacrifice themselves for the cause, but he asks in despair what will happen if the authorities still refuse to leave the villagers in peace. Sebastian answers calmly, "Do whatever is necessary. God will forgive you." Francisco tries to stop him, but Sebastian explains that he cannot simply accept what is happening. Despite this, the authorities return to the village. They place an image of Jesus before the villagers and order them to trample on it. From a distance, Sebastian watches as the villagers, their hearts breaking, obey. But it is not enough. Some confess they were gasping for air in terror, and when they are ordered to spit on the cross, only Kichijiro, out of cowardice, complies. The villagers are then tied to large crosses by the shore and left to be engulfed by the rising tide. The sea grows increasingly violent, crashing against their restrained bodies.
One by one they die. First, the elderly man, drowned, then the other man, overcome by pain, and finally Mokichi, who endures for 4 days, his body bent by hunger and thirst, until he too dies. No Christian burial is allowed. Their bodies are burned as Sebastian and Francisco watch helplessly, witnessing a scene that resembles a living hell. Francisco feels like a coward and begs Sebastian to return with him, warning that more innocent lives are at risk. But Sebastian insists that he will return only after finding Ferreira. The two part ways. The film suggests that silence also reveals the moment when loyalty to a cause becomes blindness to the suffering of others. The villagers choose broken bodies to save others. The priest chooses to move forward in pursuit of a truth he cannot yet see. Sebastian arrives at Kichijiro's village only to find it burned to the ground, with no survivors left. Exhausted, he searches desperately for anyone still alive, but fails.
He eventually collapses and falls asleep among the ruins. The next morning, he wakes up facing a fire. As he tries to walk, he faints. Shortly after, Kichijiro appears and helps him reach a safe place. Kichijiro offers him food, but Sebastian refuses, believing that someone who has insulted God cannot offer him anything pure. Kichijiro warns him that his life is in danger and that he must leave, but Sebastian refuses to listen. He continues walking until dizziness from thirst overwhelms him. Kichijiro goes to fetch water, but spills it upon returning. He then leads Sebastian to a nearby river. Sebastian drinks desperately, and seeing his reflection in the water, begins to laugh weakly, almost deliriously. Soon, however, it is revealed that Kichijiro has betrayed him once again. Japanese authorities surround the area while Kichijiro pretends innocence and receives silver coins as payment. Sebastian is arrested along with other captives.
Looking at their calm faces, he angrily asks how they can remain so composed, but no one answers. The Inquisitor then arrives and orders that all the prisoners be taken away except Sebastian. He explains that they do not hate Christians, but that there is no place for Jesus in Japan. If Sebastian were to accept that God does not exist, he would be set free. Sebastian is willing to die, but never to renounce his faith. The Inquisitor knows this and remarks that killing him would only strengthen his belief. Sebastian is placed in a cage where a man named Asano approaches and warns him that if he does not renounce his religion, other Christians will be hung upside down and slowly bled to death. He adds that Ferreira suffered the same fate and now lives in Japan with a family. Later, Sebastian is tied up and paraded through the town, pelted with stones and insults. He is finally brought before the Inquisitor, who, impressed by his courage, explains that although Christianity may be considered true in Portugal or Spain, it cannot take root in Japan. A religion, he says, must grow in suitable soil, otherwise it withers like a plant planted in the wrong land. Sebastian replies that Japan once had more than 300,000 Christians who were either massacred or forced to abandon their faith. Unwilling to continue the debate, the Inquisitor orders Sebastian to be locked back in the cage. One day, Kichijiro appears and approaches Sebastian, claiming that he did not betray him for money, though he was beaten and imprisoned as well. The other prisoners warn Sebastian not to trust him, insisting that he has come only to spy on them, yet Sebastian chooses to forgive him once again. The following day, all the prisoners are forced to trample on the image of Jesus. Though many are terrified, none renounce their faith.
The guards then behead one man and bury him on the spot. Another prisoner, after weeks of torture, finally steps on the image and is released. That night, Sebastian is brought before the Inquisitor, who tells him a parable about a man with 4 beautiful wives who constantly fought. Exhausted by the conflict, the man expelled them from his palace, and peace was restored. The Inquisitor asks whether the man acted correctly. Sebastian replies that he did, calling him wise. The Inquisitor then compares those wives to foreign religions, stating that Japan has no place for them. The next day, Sebastian witnesses young Christian women being dragged away by force. He is ordered to accompany them to the shore, where he realizes that Francisco has been captured as well. They are tied together and threatened with execution unless Sebastian renounces his faith. Francisco refuses and, in a desperate attempt to save the women, is thrown into the sea alongside them.
Sebastian watches in silence as the girls drowned. When he finally breaks down, Asano confronts him, asking what kind of priest allows innocent people to die for his pride, and whether that is truly what his God desires. That night, Sebastian weeps uncontrollably, his mental state rapidly deteriorating. The following day, he is taken to a Buddhist temple, where he meets Ferreira. Now a Buddhist monk, Ferreira's appearance and posture are completely transformed. Sebastian can barely recognize him. Though Ferreira speaks calmly, his expression reveals deep suffering. Asano asks Ferreira to explain the book he has been writing. Sebastian then realizes that Ferreira was forced to write texts condemning Christianity to ensure the religion would never take root in Japan again. Ferreira admits that after more than 15 years of preaching, he concluded that Jesus was unnecessary in Japan, and urges Sebastian to accept this truth as well.
Asano adds that no one should interfere with another's religion and that this is the true path of Buddha. Ferreira threatens Sebastian with the same punishment he once endured, being hung upside down and slowly bled. In a flashback, we see the moment Ferreira trampled on the image of Jesus, an act that shattered his soul. Asano declares that Sebastian is the last priest left in Japan and that their methods have changed. They no longer seek to kill him, but to break him through psychological and physical suffering until he willingly renounces his faith. The next day, Sebastian is once again taken before the Inquisitor. Along the way, people throw stones at him. Asano remarks that Sebastian came for these people, yet they still despise him. That night, Sebastian hears the screams of tortured Christians, piercing his mind like needles. Ferreira visits him again, explaining that he once wrote those same words on the prison wall during his captivity.
He tells Sebastian that one can still pray before one's captors as long as one keeps their eyes open. Sebastian watches as 5 Christians are slowly executed, hung upside down one after another. Ferreira begs him to abandon his faith, claiming that these people are suffering solely because of him, and that if Jesus were in his place, he too would have trampled on the image. At last, Ferreira places the image of Jesus before Sebastian. After an intense inner struggle, Sebastian steps on it, completely shattering his spirit. At that moment, Asano orders the prisoners to be released. Now living as a Buddhist monk, Sebastian watches as his former companions are taken away. Children mock his appearance, but he no longer cares. He was the last priest to enter Japan, and for the next 250 years, the church sent no more missionaries. His new role was to ensure that no foreign religion, especially Christianity, could ever take root again.
Only the Dutch and a few Europeans were allowed to trade with the country. One day, the Inquisitor informs Sebastian that a Japanese man has died in a remote region, leaving behind a wife, a child, and a servant. Sebastian is told that he will now live under that man's identity and take his place as husband. They even leave a few Christians nearby, so he will not feel completely alone. As the years pass, Sebastian grows old. He is forced to trample on the image of Jesus every few months to ensure that his faith never returns. At some point, Kichijiro, who never stopped seeking forgiveness, is caught with a religious image and disappears forever. Sebastian finally dies in 1662. It is said that he shed no tears, as if he had accepted his fate in resignation. His body is cremated according to Buddhist rites, but hidden in his hand is a small cross, the same one he kept for years, which burns along with him, becoming a silent mystery. Thus ends this story, based on real events.
That's the end. If you've made it this far, comment with the word Japan. Hit the like button and subscribe to help an unemployed person. Until next time, bye-bye.